Alright guys, my name's Angel, this is Chris, and this is his scuba set. It's a Zeagle setup. He's got a really interesting story to tell us about it, and I want you guys to hear it. So stand by, we're going to get started real soon. Chris is an avid kayaker, spearfisherman, and diver. Chris, what happened here?
I went out off of Dania Beach to do a little spearfishing, lobster hunting, and it was a little rougher than probably when I should have been out in.
Right.
And took a pretty nasty set of waves on the kayak, got turned sideways,
Really?
Got tumped over, and
No kidding.
all the gear came out of the straps, and everything hit the bottom, and you know, I was torn between trying to recover the gear or recover the kayak.
Yourself, yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, that, you know.
Where do you keep the set? In the front of the kayak or in the back side?
In the back behind the seat, and it's got a couple of straps that hold it down and stuff, but you know,
it still came out.
Yeah, I mean, it was washing machine, you know,
Right.
so it took 3 or 4 rolls, and you know, everything came out from the straps. And
were you able to see the equipment go under and float away from you?
no, it was pretty rough.
Really?
You know, it's kind of out in
Right.
the breakers, you know, in the whitewater. So you know, it's
No kidding.
concentrating on trying to get back to the kayak and get it. And by the time I got it to shore and tried to get back out.
So how did you recover it? How long was it underwater?
About 2 days later, a guy
No kidding.
messaged me on Facebook. I had my fishing license in the pocket of the
So
BC.
he was able to find you and contact
Yeah,
you.
and
So
he's-
about 2 days, two and a half days?
Yeah, and he was
Wow.
actually a lifeguard for Hollywood Beach.
No kidding.
Yeah, so
that is really interesting.
He found me on Facebook Messenger.
He must have freaked out. He saw an empty set of scuba gear floating around. What
Yeah.
must have gone through his head?
They said they were priming up for a body recovery.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, until he got a hold of me.
Thank goodness it was just a scuba set.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a really interesting story. It was attached just like you see it, the BC to the tank and to this regulator. Well, Chris brings this into me, tells me the story, and I'm like, this is too interesting just for me to keep it to myself. I got to let you know what's happening. I'm going to go through a full inspection of the equipment and service if needed. Make sure the gear is good to go. But just by the looks at it, it looks okay. But you washed it off, didn't you?
Yeah.
Had a lot of sand?
Yeah. I've cleaned it several times since then. I've dove it once since then. I've got several sets of gear and stuff. So you know,
Very good.
Just make sure everything's good. The BC's holding air. It's not really any worse for wear. It's got some, you know, some cosmetic scratches and stuff. But
I noticed some wear on the regulator. Was that like that, or was that from rolling around?
no, that regulator is only about 6-7 months old.
Wow.
So that's just from tossing around on the
No
bottom,
kidding.
and who knows what it ran into, you know, coral heads and rocks
Exactly.
and everything else.
Well, Zeagle, I know Zeagle for being excellent equipment. We're going to find out the reality of Zeagle equipment, see how it really holds up to being underwater for over 2 days. How far do you think it traveled?
I mapped it out on the map. It was about 3.5 miles, and it actually made it through the fishing pier at Dania Beach. So who knows how many pilings it beat up against on the way.
That's quite a story. A couple days underwater and several miles underwater. Unbelievable. Well, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to bring you along with me. I'm going to tear apart the regulator and make sure that everything is good and that it is ready for Chris's next dive. Guys, stick around. We're going to get started with this real soon. Chris's BC checked out fine, so he took that home with him. His tank had some scratches on it, no big deal, just some more battle scars. He took that home. He did leave the regulator with me, which I really want to thoroughly check out and make sure it's good for him, and probably just service it anyway. It's a Zeagle F8 with a DIN first stage. So I'm going to take this apart, but before I take it apart, I'm going to put it on pressure and check the IP and see what we have. I have Chris's regulator on the bench. I'm going to pressurize, and I want to measure the IP in the first stage. The IP ideal range is 130 psi to about 140 psi. If it's within that range, it's probably pretty good. If it's above 140, I can adjust it down. But if it doesn't lock up, then we have a blown first stage, and it should be serviced. Let's see what we got. It's climbing up. We got 100, 125, 150, 175, 200. 225, oh, and it went above 235. Well, I'm going to stop it there because that's definitely a blown first stage. It's not locking up. If I allow it to continue, it can rupture one of the low pressure hoses and blow the OP valve on the actual gauge. It needs to be serviced. I started by loosening some of the parts, and I removed the port plugs just to save some video time. Here you can see, as I did this, a lot of the sand that was inside came out. Let's start by removing the din, which I think is where most of the sand fell out of. Let's see what we have. I can see some more. Oh yeah, look at all that sand. There's a lot of sand in there. Look, oh wow, look at all that falling out. That's a lot of sand. Goodness. Wait till Chris sees this. That's a good thing he brought it in, because this is not good for diving it in this condition. Yeah, that's a lot of sand. Let's see what the filter area looks like. Let me poke that filter out. And O-ring here. O-ring's going to get replaced, so I just poke it out. Knock out the filter. Look, even more sand still coming out. A little stubborn, doesn't want to quite pop out that easy. There it is. Next, let's remove the top cap here, which is where the secondary diaphragm is located. There's that diaphragm, and then there's the piston, secondary diaphragm piston. Pop that out. Now let's remove the adjustment set screw. Out of there. Okay, adjustment set screw. Not bad. It's according to where it should be. Spring, also not bad. Set that aside there. I'm going to remove this outer cap. Okay, that's fine. Remember, diaphragm, it looks about normal. It does have an impression on it, but that's normal. All right, then we have the pin pad and pin. Let that fall out into my hand. Was this there before? And he said, no, that's all from bouncing around on the ocean floor for two days and 3 miles. So you can see how a lot of the brass finish has come off, and you can see the not the brass finish, but the black finish, and you can see the actual yellow brass underneath. Okay, that's the seat retainer. And then down inside you can see the actual seat itself. That is the working side of the high pressure seat. I'm going to poke it out and see what we got. And there is the seat. That's the little seat material with an O-ring around it. I put all the parts inside this stainless steel basket. From here it goes to my ultrasonic cleaner. Let's set this aside and move on. Here's the second stage. I again loosened everything to make it a little quicker and easier. All on video. Oh wow, look at all that sand. I'm going to blow this sand out before I try to undo the diaphragm retainer, because I don't want the sand grit to tear up the actual diaphragm. So let me do that first before I remove it. I loosened the diaphragm retainer. First I used a little blowgun to blow out any sand or dried up salt particles there, because I didn't want to tear up the diaphragm when loosening this. This is a threaded ring, which is basically a diaphragm retainer. Next, we're going to poke out the little thrust washer. Get the diaphragm out gently. It is made of silicone, and you can see, I don't know, maybe you can see, I can see all the sand that is around the edges of the actual diaphragm. So, all right, we're going to wash that off too under a sink and get rid of all that. And push the valve tube out the other side, collapsing the lever, and there we have the box. There's still a lot of sand in here. We got to get rid of that. I'm going to wash that out under a sink to make sure that's all done. The valve tube. Oh wow, look at all that. I was not expecting that. That's a lot of sand. Popped right out. Okay, I'm going to get this deflector off the tube. That's just the plastic deflector. There's the adjusting knob from this end. Look at all that sand. Wow. There it is. And there is the balance chamber and spring. Here comes the poppet. What you have inside is the poppet with the sealing surface, spring, and balance chamber. Okay. One more area I need to take apart is this. Remove this cap. There's the cap. And then remove it and put a new O-ring around it. Clean it up. There it is. You can see there's a little O-ring on there. Maybe you can see it. And that's it. I've completed the disassembly, the washing, and the outside cleaning of this Zeagle F8 regulator. Next step is to put it back together, adjust, and fine-tune the second stage, and make sure that Chris doesn't have any issues on his next dive. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that we're going to see what the reality of Zeagle products are. Well, I have to tell you, after being underwater for 2 days and bouncing around the ocean floor for 3 miles, and I see the condition that it came in, and I can put it back together in new condition. I'm very happy with it. I think 2 thumbs up for Zeagle. Good job. Anybody that has a Zeagle product, rest assured you have some good stuff. Guys, if you like this video, please give me a like. Any comments or questions, just leave them down below. And guys, again, thanks for watching.